As we continue to move through the middle of May, storm season has begun to roar to life. We've had quite a few storm systems in just the past week and a half. It's getting hard to keep up with. May 9th and 10th brought extremely damaging winds and multiple tornadoes to the Florida Panhandle, which I plan on discussing in a separate video. On May 13th through the 15th, a stalled frontal boundary brought days of thunderstorms to our local area. There will be a first coast storm tracking on that as well. Alright, but enough upselling. Let me give you some content today. For that, we will look into the thunderstorms that formed on the evening of May 19th, 2024. We'll go over some of the severe weather that happened around the state of Florida first, and then we will get into what occurred in our local area. Let's get started. On May 19th, 2024, there was a marginal risk across our area and much of Florida, along with an isolated bubble of slight risk in southeastern Florida. The main threat for Florida that day was forecast to be large hail, with a 15% risk being issued for the slight risk area and about a 5% risk for much of the remaining peninsula. There was also a 5% wind risk and a 2% tornado risk within the slight risk area. Looking at the forecast verification, they seem to nail the slight risk on the head. However, much of the storms in the rest of the Florida Peninsula seem to undershoot expectations just a little. Let's take a closer look at that slight risk area and what kind of storms formed within it. The bulk of Florida's notable severe weather on May 19th occurred primarily within St. Lucie and Martin counties in southeastern Florida. The morning started off fairly quiet, but storm cells would rapidly spring to life around the noon hour. The first severe thunderstorm warning of the day for the forecasting area of National Weather Service Melbourne was at 12:47 p.m. for St. Lucie and Indian River counties. These storms would continue to move east and develop further south into Martin County through the 4 p.m. hour. I do want to mention that severe thunderstorms did happen in a few other counties around the Melbourne area, such as in Brevard and Palm Beach counties. However, I wanted to focus down on the St. Lucie and Martin County areas due to the sheer amount of storms they received in a short period of time, along with having the bigger hail reports. The first reported instance of severe hail in the area happened at around 1 p.m., when emergency management in Fort Pierce reported hail ranging from 1 to 2 inches in diameter. The second report of hail came in at around 1:41 p.m., when hail around 1 inch in diameter was reported by a trained weather spotter in Fort Pierce. Notice on the radar that this hail came from a different thunderstorm that developed in the wake of the first storm. The second notable group of hail reports came from Martin County during the 3 p.m. hour. At around 2:40 p.m., a small storm cell formed just to the northeast of Lake Okeechobee in northwestern Martin County. The cell would intensify rather quickly, with the storm being given a severe thunderstorm warning at 3:08 p.m. At 3:17 p.m., golf ball-sized hail, which is around 1.75 inches in diameter, was reported in Snug Harbor, a subdivision within the town of Stuart, Florida. According to the report, this hailstorm lasted around 6 minutes. A minute after the first report, a trained weather spotter reported ping pong ball-sized hail, which is around 1.5 inches in diameter, also within the subdivision of Snug Harbor. And that wraps up the notable severe weather Florida saw on May 19th. Overall, nothing too crazy. I couldn't even find any articles reporting damage from the hailstones. But the end of severe weather discussion does not mean the end of this video, as we still gotta talk about what went on in our local area, so let's get into that now. May 19th started off stormy in our area, as a large band of showers and a few embedded thunderstorms moved across much of the counties along the Florida-Georgia line early in the morning. While there was a special weather statement as the storm passed north of Jacksonville, no severe weather was associated with this line. Looking at our forecast, it seems as if conditions are in place for the potential for severe thunderstorms. Reading this, I assumed it was going to be a pretty active severe weather day, though that's not exactly what happened in our area. The weather actually remained pretty quiet during the daytime hours for most of our area. Through the 5 p.m. hour, thunderstorms stayed mostly north of the Florida-Georgia line. Finally, at 5 p.m., thunderstorms began to develop within the first coast region of Florida. These cells were relatively small and isolated, affecting primarily Duval, Baker, and Nassau counties. One of these cells did manage to get a special weather statement on it, affecting Duval and northern St. Johns counties. At the same time as the first round of storms were moving through the first coast, a second, slightly more robust round of showers and thunderstorms was forming to our west near the Big Bend. At the same time, an outflow boundary is seen racing quickly out of the north as the 7 p.m. hour approaches. This boundary actually originated around 2 hours prior up in south central Georgia, which came from the collapse of a thunderstorm complex. And this thing was big, spanning over 130 miles. Real quickly, I will discuss what an outflow boundary is and why it is important to this story today. An outflow boundary, which is also more commonly referred to as a gust front, is a feature produced by a thunderstorm downdraft, and a downdraft is simply a column of air that descends from a thunderstorm, which is what causes rain and hail to fall from thunderstorms. If a large downdraft forms, it can result in an outflow boundary. This area of rain-cooled air can act similarly to a miniature cold front or the Florida sea breeze for a more apt size comparison. Like the sea breeze, when an outflow boundary passes, the wind often picks up, temperatures drop, and the pressure changes. This boundary of cool air can help develop thunderstorms as it moves along the terrain, displacing warm, buoyant air and helping it rise into the atmosphere. In addition to developing new thunderstorms, outflow boundaries have also been known to enhance thunderstorms they interact with. Outflow boundaries bring a lot of low-level wind shear with them, or a change in the wind direction with height. This can potentially cause rotation at the base of thunderstorms, which can lead to brief tornadic activity. though this is a fairly rare occurrence. Outflow boundaries tend to be at their most effective when interacting with another mesoscale boundary, such as the sea breeze or a dry line. Alright, so now that we understand what an outflow boundary is and what they can do, let's see one in action. Our part of the story begins at around 8:20 p.m. as me and my partner head down the road to get some footage of the approaching outflow boundary. I was very curious to see if the boundary would have a positive impact on the showers and storms that were moving around 10 miles to our south. Let's see what happens.
Well, see, here's what's happening right now, right? These individual storm cells are like in southeastern Clay, western St. Johns County. They're moving east towards the nice. They're moving east towards the Atlantic. It's cloudy right now because we're under. This is the outflow boundary above us right now. So, in probably the next 10-15 minutes, it should clear south. We might get a better view, but also by then the storms will move further. But if the lightning is happening up higher like it was the other night, then it doesn't really matter. It's probably better that's further away from us.
The outflow boundary began to pass overhead at around 8:26 p.m. Within the next few minutes, we definitely noticed. The wind picked up and the temperature dropped around 6 degrees over the next half hour, though that may not have been the doing solely of the outflow boundary as the sun was setting around that same time. Regardless, you can still see exactly when the boundary came through by looking at a temperature map for the day. As the boundary passed overhead and moved further towards our south, the storms began to show off a little bit more.
The boundary should go get the anemometer. I just happened to get it that spot. I'm gonna go get the anemometer boundary. I'm good. Like that. Make sure the camera's recording. Yes. Get the wind now. Yeah, I feel it. Though, yeah, no, the other day, the outflow boundary. Yes! Yeah. Yay! Pretty good. Definitely got that one. Yeah, I think so.
Within 5 minutes of the boundary clearing overhead, the area behind the line was almost completely cloud-free, which allowed us to get a nice last glimpse of the sunset.
I can look up, see that the outflow boundary's almost cleared us. Look, yeah. It's behind us. Sure. Yeah, actually, look. I think we missed a strike. Look how clear it is. All the clouds are gone. Look to the left, too. Yeah. And then just back behind us now. Wow.
After getting to see another lightning strike, we decided to actually chase the storms a little bit. For that, we were going to take a trip down to the local marina and try and get some lightning shots on the water.
This is where I'm seeing those flashes from. It's a smaller cell. It's like on the Clay, Putnam County line. I saw that.
Yeah, we did get that one.
The cells look like they're trying to merge to the southeast along like the Putnam, St. Johns, Clay County area.
I guess it's this way, so.
Think so?
Some.
If we really wanted to, I want to go down to the marina.
Do you? See one out?
I think so.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, let's go.
Alright.
Unfortunately for us, our drive down to the marina did not yield much in the way of decent footage. For whatever reason, the storms moving to our east weakened and stopped putting off lightning strikes, and in addition to that, the sun had fully set by the time we arrived. After spending a few minutes at the marina enjoying the cool river air, we decided to head back home. Thankfully, we were not done seeing thunderstorms for the night. At around 9:20 p.m., we were beginning to drive back into town when we noticed some lightning flashes happening to our south. The last storm cell in the line that first formed to our west was moving just to the south of our town at the moment. So we took a chance and pulled off onto a dirt road and started filming into the pitch black night, and thankfully we got lucky.
Woo! Yep.
Pretty nice, huh? It was a good night for lightning, and I think we can thank that outflow boundary in part for the show. Looking at the reflectivity radar and echo top side by side, it's pretty clear to see that once the outflow boundary passed under these storms, they did briefly intensify, especially that last cell that we ended up seeing once the sun went down. Only one severe thunderstorm occurred in our area, which was in Glenn County, Georgia, during the 5 p.m. hour. However, no reports of severe weather or damage was reported from this storm. Two thunderstorms that were leading the line in our area were given special weather statements at 8:15 p.m. and 8:20 p.m. respectively. However, it does not seem any notable weather was reported from those thunderstorms. Despite not seeing much severe weather on May 19th, we still managed to capture some really good footage, chase storms, and we had a lot of fun with it. What more can you really ask for? But with that being said, I hope y'all learned something new today. If you did, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton, and it lets us know that you enjoy what we do. I hope y'all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.